All right, good morning.
So,
Right on.
I want to ask you a question, Dad.
Yes, bring it on.
Is there life on Mars?
Yes, there is. Or was, or will be. I don't know.
What makes you think that?
So, I think that we have no... I'm not aware of any evidence. Cameron said yesterday, though, that they have found evidence of that there was water.
Yeah.
Then the hypothesis being that if there was water, then there will be life. So here's the thing. This one gets a little bit less sciencey, I guess, for my real opinion. Okay, my science opinion is absolutely, and my just purely secular opinion is that there is lots of life out there that we've not discovered. I'm not sure where I am on aliens yet, but I'm definitely not against it. But I absolutely think that there's life out there, for sure. As far as Mars is concerned, like specifically Mars, well, I remember hearing once, but it was more like this was a church thing. There was I want to say it was Joseph Smith, but I don't know, that said that there either was life or will be life on every planet. Like that's the purpose of planets, is to have life. And how do I really know what's meant by that? You know, is it meant that every solar system will have a planet that has life on it? Well, maybe. Does it mean that every single planet has life or will have life? Maybe. I'm not against either one. I'm really more interested in, okay, what is the truth? And we won't find it out in this life for sure. But I do believe that, okay, when we die, that we continue to live, like our spirit is like, we still live. So here's why I am kind of with Mars. Well, I'm completely not against the idea that there is currently life on Mars, just in a form that we can't see, like spiritual or something, or they have, you know, a different composition of body from a finer matter or something where we can't interact. Kind of like similar to people who have said they've had encounters with spirits or with angels here. Now, let's for a moment hypothesize that maybe that is actually true. Right? So, well, no, because if you don't believe it's true, if you don't believe that we live after we die, then well, that's a whole other conversation, isn't it? So let's just go on the premise that you continue to live after you die. But we, here on Earth, we cannot see these people mostly. Once in a while, if it's true that somebody says that they see a spirit, they see an angel or something like that, there's records of that for, ever, right? That's in the Old Testament. It's in all kinds of all prophets of different religions have claimed that. People, regular folks have claimed that. But obviously we don't have access to be able to see that stuff very often. When it comes and why it comes, don't know. Can't. It's hard to fully answer that. But nonetheless, it is there. So if those spirits, those people are there in a different form that we can't normally see, then where are they? Are they just here? And, I kind of think so, yes. But therefore, if that's the case, they're always here and we don't see them, who's to say that that doesn't also exist on Mars? Maybe kind of like the end of times have already occurred on, where life has ended in its current form on other planets, and now you're left with spiritual beings in a different stage of development, so to speak.
So you think every planet sort of has a stage, there's stages of life
Of development, yeah.
and then also destruction as well.
Yeah,
There's stages of destruction.
that, yes, exactly. Kind of like we'll have more stages of destruction on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
And we talk about Armageddon and all these different things.
Yeah, so I would argue that
Yes,
going by that logic that it's in the end stages and it's already been destructed because water. There's traces of water. There's traces of what used to be a sea.
Yeah, so I would be more in the favor of that. Yes, there is life, but that we can't see it at the moment, like spiritual life, so to speak. Keep going.
I don't really know about that. Maybe, but also in the Bible and Book of Mormon, they talk about them ascending into the heavens and not really being among us, more ascending into the heavens and going up.
Yeah, and I wonder how much of that is literally true versus figuratively true.
I've read some of it, and it seems pretty literal, like ascending and descending, and it seemed pretty literal to me. But yeah, I think there definitely was life on Mars. There could still be traces of it, but
so in our theology, we would suggest that this Earth will become a celestialized Earth. So this will go through its phases of destruction, in which this will be celestialized, and this is where spiritual beings will inhabit. So who's to say that has not already occurred on Mars and it has already been celestialized? We just don't recognize it as such because of our eyes.
Sure. I would imagine a celestialized planet to be a bit more, I don't know.
Well, it's probably prettier from their point of view than it is from our point of view. We're only seeing with our lenses.
Sure. I guess.
But also maybe it's just in development, maybe it's in process, maybe it has not yet had life on. That's just
that.
And so therefore, and then what my point of that was that I'm not necessarily convinced that spiritual beings are not here and that they go up somewhere or to some place up in the sky. I'm not necessarily convinced about that. I think that I'm open, like if I die and I find out, we go up somewhere, then that's fine. Like I'm not bothered by it either way. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's all right here, right now anyway. Just a different realm that we can't see or recognize.
So do you think every planet is going to go through stages of life and have humans inhabit it?
I think so, yes.
And you think it'll all be humans like us that look like us?
Well, the Bible says that man was made in God's image. So from that perspective, I would probably say yes. But again, it might be kind of cool to have something like Star Wars. That'd be groovy.
Yeah, but that
and
does
maybe
argue against evolution. So that would mean all these different worlds have to kind of be exactly like this one.
Not exactly.
In terms of environment.
But why could there not just be, lots of similar principles, but variances
if human was created in God's image, and we don't go about believe in the evolution, then what about skin color and size and different races?
Well, that's what I meant by variation, right? Like, I'm not against in any way there being all kinds of variances. Like, how far can you take that phrase that we were made in God's image? Does it mean that we all have well, we obviously have variances on Earth with different races, right? And so
And that is because of our environments.
It could be.
Well, it is because you have in Africa where it's a lot more heavily polluted with sun. They're a lot darker skinned. You go to darker, hotter places of the earth, they're all darker. You go to freaking England where it's raining, Scotland, everything, they're all white as hell.
Well, then
That
what
is
about?
because of environment.
Well, there's. I understand that argument, and to a large degree, I agree with it. But at the same time, how long does it take for these changes to occur? So, for example, what about, you look at everybody in the Middle East, they're all, for the most part, kind of olive-skinned, right? But then you see all these white Jews. Well, why is that? And they have found bands of white Indians, natives in South America.
People being colonized, people diverging.
Bands of white Indians basically came from Western Europeans coming over to South America, and then deciding to live more of a nomadic lifestyle.
Possibly, yes.
Maybe.
With that, you can't argue against like black people being from Africa having
I'm not
a much
arguing
darker
that.
skin because of the sun, because of being in
Yeah.
hot places.
I'm not arguing
So
that.
then what would you say that?
I'm just saying I'm also open to additional variables.
Like what?
Like, okay, so here let me change the question up for a second. Do you think that, okay, if we die and we continue to live, and we have therefore some type of a spiritual body, do you think that spiritual body will negate the variances in races that we have? I hate to say race because we're all the human race. Like, that doesn't make sense actually to me. But regardless, do you think that when you die that people will be white and black and olive
No.
and cocoa?
No, I don't.
You don't?
I think our physical appearances and our bodies are completely unique to Earth. I don't think our spirits look like our bodies because
And
because our bodies are dependent on your parents, are dependent on exactly that. Like, you can look like your parents, and say by the belief that we're all brothers and sisters. I'm not gonna look like you as a spirit if we're all brothers and sisters. I'm not, and then look completely different from somebody else. Our bodies are completely dependent on our environment, our ancestors' environment, and our parents.
Yeah. So I guess that.
So I think spiritual body, whatever it is, I think is completely different, or
You think
just
we'll have a
something
different form?
or it's just.
But-
Well, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, and how far are we
I
going
don't
to
know.
take that different form? Is that going to mean that the appearance of our skin and the facial features and things like that will be different? But then would it be still the same that we still have 2 arms and 2 legs? Like, where's the line
in
drawn?
Doctrine and Covenants, right? It does say that God does have flesh and bone, right?
Right, it does.
Yeah. So I don't know.
So if there's flesh and bone, then is there going to be color? I understand there's still going to be color, and probably a lot more colors than what we have now, than we're able to recognize now. In the world kind of thing. So then do we have color after this life? Right? If we don't have color, then I don't know how that works. I don't know. But then if we do have color, then why is that color dependent on geographically and genetically where we grew up when we were on Earth?
Exactly.
Right. Which to me
But then
would indicate there might be something more, because then was there a pre-mortal life? And if there was, well, I don't know. I guess I'm not convinced that where we grew up from an overall point of view, if we were only talking about evolution, I would kind of get that point. But if once we start getting into opening up the entire timeline of existence,
Human existence.
I don't mean just on Earth, but I mean post-mortal and pre-mortal, then I'm open to the idea that there might be additional variables on
in the pre-mortal
things like,
life to what we look like here.
Maybe. Now maybe we had no form pre-mortally, right? That's possible.
We gained our form here, but
we came to.
Weren't we always haven't we always existed?
Well, yes, but that's at least intelligence. How much of a spiritual body we had beforehand, I don't really know. But I guess I'm perfectly happy to get to heaven, and we've got whites and blacks and, you know, in every shade of every color. That doesn't bother me in it. Right, and
what I'm saying is that I'm white because you're my dad.
Right.
Because mom's my mom.
Right.
I'm white because your ancestors lived in Scotland, right?
Well, yeah, but
so it was not very heavily sun polluted place, and you adapted to your environment, so you had lighter skin.
And so I wonder, do we actually have evidence that if it is only based on your environment, that how long it would require for a bloodline to change its phenotype and color, right? Like how long would, if you took a white person and stuck them in Africa, somewhere in Africa, and how many generations would it have to go through before that line went through a change to become, like, if you could maybe have a small group of white folks, stick them in Africa, and they only had kids amongst themselves without any intermingling with blacks, how long would it take before that white bloodline became black? Or vice versa, you stick a bunch of blacks and you throw them in Norway, how long would that bloodline require before they turned white? Do we have any evidence that has ever occurred? We have the ideology, we have the thought that that's what happened, that everybody came from Africa, and now we've got all kinds of different colors. But I'm just wondering, and I'm not challenging it, I'm actually only asking, do we actually have the evidence that shows that, or is it just the idea? I can't answer the question.
I think the evidence is there because it's what fits the environment. Because it's what you need, darker skin to sort of counteract the sun, to kind of, you need.
Okay, so then why
Asian people, they're a lot smaller because they were more, like, the bodies are more built to be, I don't know, going through jungles and stuff, or what. I don't know exactly what it was, but like our bodies are kind of built for our environment based on race and where ancestors sort of came from.
Right. Okay, so then why is it that there are such different, why is it that everybody that is in a geographically sunny location, hot and sunny, not black, why do we have variances?
It's a different level of heat. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Or maybe
maybe
it is the more olive skinned people came from whiter people that moved that way, and then they're sort of in. Maybe.
Maybe. Right, and I'm not actually arguing any point. I'm just saying I'm open to anything that's thrown at me, and I'm also not entirely convinced of the current secular narrative.
Sure. Doesn't really make sense to me considering everything.
Like there's a book called The Scars of Evolution. Look at my time because I gotta also get to work. Yeah, I gotta run.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting. Scars of Evolution. We'll pick this one up later. This is interesting. See you later.
Peace.